Books we read. Books we read.
La 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 la
Hey guys, welcome to Between the Pages. Today we're joined by Anagha. She might seem shy at first, but once you start talking to her, she's full of fascinating information. Today she's here with a special book, The Night Diary. It's set in 1947 during the partition of India and Pakistan, and the whole story is told through diary entries and letters by a 12-year-old child. To know more, stay tuned. Let's welcome Anagha. If you guys like today's discussion, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you would like to come on our show as a guest, fill out the form. The link is in the description below. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram for more updates and behind the scenes. Just search for us at Between the Pages _BTP. Hello, Anagha. Welcome to Between the Pages.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm fine.
How's life been lately?
So basically, I generally spend time at home because I don't spend more time with my mother, but like to spend time at home. I practice, I read. I read most of the time at home.
Sounds lovely. So, what are some of your favorite books?
The Night Diary, this is the book, and I'm talking about it today. There's another book called When You Look Up. It's about how you can free yourself from phone, and there are many more books. There's another book called Dear Mrs. Naidu. It's in the same format as this book, and many more.
All right. So, what is this book about?
This book is set in 1947 when the British freed India. It is by Veera Hiranandani, and it's about a girl named Nisha and how her family has to go through hardships when they have to move from Mirpur Khas to Jodhpur in India from Pakistan, and since they're Hindu, they have to move, and it's about how the hardships during when they're moving gets them closer. So an example is like when her father used to be angry at her brother Amel because he's not doing good at school and he's actually a little special. So he can't actually see the words the way we see them. And then his father used to always be angry at him because he doesn't do great at school. And later, after their journey, Amel falls sick, and he almost dies. So after that, his father becomes nicer to him because he has to imagine how sad their life will be without him.
I see. So, this book kind of reminds me of the Diary of Anne Frank as well, because they both are in the format of a diary and a lot of hardships.
Yeah, but this is actually a mix of diary and letter writing because she's actually writing letters to her dead mother who died during childbirth.
I see. So, if I were reading this book, I would be going through a lot of emotions. So, what were you feeling?
Like I didn't go through a lot because I read it with my mother. I didn't read it alone, so it doesn't actually affect me a lot. It didn't affect. And one more fact is that her mother is Muslim.
Oh, okay. So, you mentioned कि वो diary writing में भी है और letter format में भी है. So, how did that affect your reading experience?
Actually, I had also read the Dear Mrs. Naidu book before this, so it didn't actually affect me a lot because I was used to that format.
But is it more special? Do you prefer reading books like this in this format or a normal format?
It actually feels like she's not talking to you because she always says mama. So it feels like she's not talking to you, but slowly you get used to it, and you don't feel it very different.
I see. And I believe that the character went through a lot. She grew as a person, like throughout the book. So, can you share a moment when you realized that she grew?
Like it's not like she actually grows up at a movement, but there's this part in the book where they're hiding in her mother's brother's house, her uncle's house. They're hiding in their house, and then she doesn't actually talk. She's also an introvert, but then everyone in her family has been urging her to talk, and at that point she actually sees a girl in the next house, and she actually she and her brother throw a chit and call her over and talk to her. So that's actually the point where we can realize that, oh, she was like this and now she has changed and grown and become like this.
And I love funny moments in books. Were there any
But
funny moments in this book?
But since this is already a sad book, there aren't any funny moments in particular. Like if you have to actually hunt for them.
Did you notice any?
No.
Okay. And you mentioned कि ये book थोड़ी sad है.
हाँ.
So, what motivated you to continue reading this book?
Well, it's not like very sad, and it's like you want to know, like there's always a climax. Like there are 2 to 3 climaxes. One where her brother is sick, then her daddy, because their mother is dead, their daddy will be staying with them. And then they also have a cook called Qazi. He is Muslim, so he stays in Pakistan. But then you also want to know whether he comes back, because like he also feels like while reading this book, you feel like you're a part of their family, and you also actually miss him. So you always want to know whether he comes back, do they get fined, do they eat safely. And the main part, the most best part in this book is that you want to know whether she gets friends, because earlier when she's staying in Mirpur Khas, she doesn't have many friends.
I see. And were you satisfied with how the book ended?
I was satisfied, but I felt it was like the last part was speeded up, because Kazi later comes back, but that's too fast. And like when you go through trauma, you can't speak even. Like she's scared, and all the thoughts that are running through her mind. I felt that was a bit speeded up. She should have ended it smoothly.
All right. Okay. Did you resonate with any of the characters?
As in,
Relate.
no.
Okay.
Because I've never been through hardships, like there's never happened anything like this with me, so no.
And how did the historical context add to the story?
So it's like when the writer has actually used her father's experiences to write the story. So it's like
So this was a true story for her
no,
father?
it's not a true story, it's historical fiction, but it has some parts of her father's experience.
Oh.
But I actually want it tells of like one fictitious character what many people went through. It's like she's just one character, but many people went through similar things.
Yes, I agree with that. So, if you were to recommend this book to someone, what would you say to them to persuade them to read it?
Well, like in our normal books, school books, we learn that India was separated. Muslims had to move from here to there. Hindus had to come to India. Muslims had to go to Pakistan. But we don't actually learn. We don't know what actually they went through. Like we know that there was one train that went from here to there, but we don't know actually what they went through. What happened? What happened on the train? Did people did even fleeing people also fought? So why did they fight? This actually doesn't tell why they fought, but it's like and plus it's from a child's perspective, so it's like you can feel that it's your own perspective if you're reading it as a child. And we also learn what common people went through.
I have this question, but I forgot. Why does this happen to me? Okay, so what's one lesson that you learned from this book that you would want others to know as well?
Hardships bring people together, and it's like however it does it, it's not always that if some person treats another person badly, it's not that he hates them. It's just like you still love a person even if you don't actually show that you love him. Like I felt that for Amal's father. Like he still loves his son, but he never shows it that he loves his son. He's always angry at him.
So we have a ritual in this podcast where every guest writes a question for the next guest. So I have a question for you. It's from Janisha, and she's asking, what does it mean to be human?
It's a very complex question, but it's like basically to have a brain which which can feel emotions and can move around, feel love, hatred, everything that, and can heal itself, like some small injuries.
So basically, yesterday the previous episode, she had come with a book about robots. And we were contemplating the fact that if robots can have feelings and what's the difference between them and that. And it's such a coincidence that you've bought a book that explains so much about human emotions and everything. All right, so it's your turn to write a question for the next guest. Thank you so much. So I have one last question for you. I would love to know more about your library.
So my mother actually started the library because there's this course called Library Educators course, which is about what kind of books are there, what are the awards, and she learned a lot from that, and that's why she started it. So it's like we generally know the general Harry Potter, Geronimo Stilton and all, but there are also many other books which are much more interesting. Like this book, for example, it is not like, it's not a common book. Like if you go and ask a normal person, he'll not know it. Like even I've seen in your podcast that there are no books like this which are complex, and it also has like it's like we generally know the common categories of books is like folk tales, then fairy tales, and these are the normal genres. But there are also like the non-fiction biographies. We know these, but there's Indian art. There is art from different countries. Which it's not, the book will not have more about the story, but it has more about art. Then there are like, it's more in this and there are wildlife books which don't tell about wildlife, but you learn a lot about wildlife from them. And there's one more book which is my favorite book. It's called what's its name? It's wild, something to do with its wildlife something. And the best part about that book is that it's like the animal is talking. So in the first little part, you don't even understand that it's the animal talking. So it's like it has all kinds of books, and it has different arts. And like most libraries are like, they should be quiet and all, but our library is not like that. It has games, and there's also a quote from an author which says a library should not hush, it should roar.
Yes.
So that makes the library more interactive, and like now, because earlier libraries used to be a source of information, but now since there's Google and all that, and the information is easily available, the libraries have to evolve, and they should become more like a community place than actually information.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on Between the Pages today. I had a really great time talking books with you, and I hope we get to meet soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you guys liked today's discussion. Until next time, it's me, Anna Lilani, closing the BTP book for this week.
la 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 la